Hello there. Thank you for joining me once again. Today we're doing the companion lesson/analysis for last week's My Antarctica performance. We have a lot of ground to cover. I had to make myself a list. There were just too many things to remember, and that was unexpected. I thought, maybe like many of you did, oh, pretty simple groove, right? Simple chords, it's just 3 or 4 chords. As usual, I was surprised by the production and the note choices and the harmonic movement. So let's get right into it. So I'm switch this over to piano time. But before we play a note on the piano, let's take a quick journey through the progression of this song. Now, I'm guessing at the progression of this song, and I'll try to explain myself as we progress through it. So this is one of 2 demos or like early versions. This one is called just alternate take, restored tape that this fine fella Chris Nichols put up. So let's listen to just a little bit of it. So interestingly there, I think that's the X Factor, the Kubicki X Factor played on that first setting. So anyone that has one of the original 18 volt Kubicki X Factors knows that when you turn on the instrument, it just, boom, goes to, the second setting. So when you turn on the Kubicki Factor, it has like a 6th position, sort of last position's off, and then you switch it on, and it's on, and then you switch it one more, and whoa, you get this huge bass boost. Like, it sounds like this. Listen, just like a lot of bass and a little bit of treble. So you have very scooped, just heavy bass. Like, it might be the perfect position if you were in a Sublime cover band or something like that. So I think this version was maybe the first one because John's just playing it. It's kind of like a Chili Pepper-ish line. That's the way I interpret it. Don't, right? So I think that from there, maybe they said, you know what, let's simplify that. And then it came to this one. Which sounds like it's maybe even the backing tracks for the actual version, but there are no snaps here. It's just a dunk 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 dunk. There's no snaps. The tiki dunk ain't. Right? Yeah, there's no tick-dunk. It's just the dunk 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 dunk. So then perhaps maybe somebody said, you know what, I miss those ticky-dunk, but they wanted to keep this bass line going. So as I stated in the performance video in the intro, I think they sampled John doing at least the snaps maybe on that first chord or the second chord on the G, because that one sounds the most natural to me. And then they just, laid the samples out on the keyboard and then played it where they needed to for the various notes in the song, which we're going to get into. And just to mention real quick though, there's also this Throb. You can find it here on the singles, 86 through 95. And it's basically like a sort of instrumental dreamy version, you could say, of My Antarctica. Let's forward a little more. It's pretty cool, right? Maybe something you can meditate with. So yeah, that's Throb. And so here we are with My Antarctica. Okay, so this song is basically 4 chords. In their simplest form, I would say that the 4 chords are C7, G minor, and then in the chorus we have E flat major, F, and it goes back to that G minor. So as far as unique chords, unique bass notes, that's it. It's C, G, E flat, F. However, they are definitely embellished. For example, well, let's just start here at the beginning. And what I'm going to say starts off with the G minor. So if we just pretend that we have that as the bass, the G. It goes something like that. Then you got that. It might just be an octave. I kind of like just to throw that B flat, E flat there. So it just is kind of doing that dreaminess. And then it just all of a sudden, as if it were an announcement, it just goes. So it's kind of warning you that that E flat is now raising itself up to an E natural, because incoming is going to be the first chord of the song, the C7th, with that E natural. And so let's get to that part. So yeah, it's in the middle of all that. And then all of a sudden, that keyboard just comes in. It's pretty strange because the G is part of the G minor, but that E is just out of nowhere. And we're going to do the reverse of that, because even though we're going to go into this C7, let's keep listening. It's going to do this similar switch. See right there already, we're at the C7, and then Nick comes in with that thing again. So that makes it something of a C7, like a natural 7th, natural dominant 7th. And then we're going to take that 10th and minus it, so minus 10. Right? Just crazy, crazy note right there. And so right there. And as I said, they're embellished. So I would actually call that G minor a G minor 9th. Because if you listen to the guitar, I don't know if it does it here, if we have to forward, but you can hear Warren go. Let's see if we can find it. Well, before we get to that, we hear those notes coming in again, right? So that's signifying now that we're getting into the first verse.
Once I thought that I was in control, but that was just an...
Okay, and you probably heard something weird there. So let's take that beginning line. See what it did there? So there's a raise there because you're there at the G minor with this D, and then I think it's Warren goes up to that E flat there, and then it resolves because you're going back to the C7. So it's kind of sort of like that James Bondy. Not really, but that chromatic movement. Let's listen to it one more time.
Control, but that was just another...
Right there. Control, that was just... So awesome right there. And let's keep listening because I still want to find that part I was hearing with Warren doing the
playing with my life.
right there. There we go. So I love the melody too, so we have to give props to Simon for coming up with this wonderful melody and the range of it, because he's starting way down here. Right? And then we're going to end up way over here, which we'll get to.
I was so tied up, and I said to
And of course, I'm just focusing on the general harmonic movement here because both Warren and Nick are doing embellishments everywhere, and I'm not picking out every single one of them. Just trying to pick out the largest contributors to the flavor, let's say. Yeah, but I mean, we'll be here all day if I'm picking out every little lick.
gotta break it all.
And it's just a cool chord change in general, right? Ah, I did it minor. Lovely chords.
Didn't really try.
And there's that again. Right? And then we get into that cool piano, right? So it's going to go. It's actually a triad. B flat, D, F. And I don't know if it does it the first time, but it definitely goes up to that G. So you're coming out of that with the G flat underneath. I missed going to the next chord, which is going to be the E flat. Okay. So even though the piano is kind of resolving up there to the third of an E flat major chord, E flat, G, B flat, that's the triad. The vocal is actually implying an E flat ninth because Simon is doing this. Right? He's on that F. And then when we go to the F, he does another sixth here. I didn't mean another sixth, but instead of doing a note within the chord, he's going up to the sixth there. So from a ninth, goes to the sixth. And then he's going way up high, emphasizing that G minor ninth, because he's going to ride that A. F. And then I kind of did a little jazzy substitution there by doing the F over the G. I think it sounds pretty good though. So really, those are the chords. And even though they're basic chords in a sense, they are embellished with sevenths, ninths, minus tens, just all kinds of crazy stuff. I think it's pretty awesome, actually. Let's see if we have anything else to talk about. Oh, of course, as I mentioned, that range. I mean, the F right here, not too big of a deal, but that A, that is pretty high. Such a beautiful melody too. Simon, great job on that one. All right, let me look at my checklist. Why don't we check things off? I love checking things off of lists, don't you? Okay, we covered that. Oh, and by the way, this one goes out to Paul Dawson because I know you're listening. And, oh yeah, totally forgot about this. Let's let it go back into a verse so we can showcase this.
My Antarctica.
So it hangs on that G. And it just kind of fades till we get back into a verse. And right there, of course, it's like a little tabla or something, but you can kind of fake it on a keyboard just by doing your wheel over here. Kind of do something fun like that.
You can make your rhymes and paint your...
So what I forgot in the first verse is this. You have this repeating figure that Nick's doing. So it's really the same thing all the way through, except that fourth time, the fourth bar, if you want to call it a 4-bar phrase, you go up to the... And that's it. Pretty clever though, because it sort of creates this movement, because the bass is, you know, doing something quite sparse, pretty simple, you know, doom, 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 doom. Of course, we're going to go over bass in a bit. So there's room there for him to do something like that. Let me see what else is on the list. I called that the rolling keys part. We covered that crazy D to E flat to E natural thing. We covered Warren doing or emphasizing the G minor ninth there. And the rest of it, I think we can go over when we do bass. Let's just give it a quick listen and see if there's anything else I want to point out. Yeah, and that keeps repeating during the choruses. So for that middle section, I mean, you're just going crazy. It's kind of like the beginning, a potpourri of beautiful sounds. Back into the C. Although I have to say, right there, it kind of sounded like it was minor. Is it? Maybe there it's actually minor.
We'll keep the rhythm going and we'll remember.
Let's figure that out. I haven't figured it out. So if we start it here. Is it minor? I think it is, because I don't think it would sound right if we did. Well, the last time it'll go. I'm going to say that is minor, and I will point out that unlike the verses, this is doing the reverse. It's starting on G minor, but let's confirm that. Well, no, because we're right into the C minor then. But the figure that they sing starts on, you could say, the second bar of the G minor.
We'll keep the rhythm going and we'll remember.
Yeah, it sounds minor to me. Let's call it a minor.
Flowing and we'll remember.
Remember. This actually goes C to D right there, so let's try to figure that out. This is real time, folks. Where were we? Makes another beautiful chord there, right? So what would we call that? It's like it kind of turns it into a C minor 7. So C minor 7, not C7 with that added ninth like we were doing before, but like this. So E flat to F to the G minor. And back to that crazy thing, right? You could say that in that dreamy middle section, it goes back to using a C minor. And then we never go back to using a C major or a C dominant 7th, whatever you want to call it, because out of that, it goes into that break that's essentially the chorus chords. And then we're into a chorus, and that's it. After this, we're just chorus, chorus, chorus.
And you will stay here.
It doesn't really resolve to the G. In my video, I did do some harmonic plucks on the G and D, but it really just... and it kind of just trails off, which is pretty cool. I like it when songs do that. It's kind of like a non-resolved ending, so it kind of keeps you thinking. All right, I think we're ready for bass. All right, we're in bass time. I'd like you to feel my pain and allow me to tell you that this is the second time I'm recording it. The first time I recorded this, and it went swimmingly well, by the way, with the exception of this. My mic was up. I can't believe I did not notice. So there was no audio. There was no voice. Take 2. All right, here we go. So the bass, pretty easy, technically speaking, although I have to interject that if you listen to the isolated bass, which I have, it is very, very much doing a swing. It is not just playing straight. So I'll try to illustrate what's happening and how I think you should approach it. But first, let's take a quick look at this picture. This is a black unlined non-X factor. So what that means is this is not like a regular Kubicki X factor that has the string clasp up at the top of the fretboard up by the headstock, or whatever you would call a headstock on a Kubicki. I suppose it is a headstock. So it's going to be a regular 34-inch scale instrument, and I never saw him play it live. This looks more like it's like 87 or 88, something like that. So who knows if that was the fretless actually used on My Antarctica, but it would be nice to think that it was. So yeah, just wanted to show you that really quick. Thanks, Alex, for the picture. And let's go back to bass time. Now, I'm not going to show you the bass line, even though it was played on a fretless, because, well, we've done that last week, and I think this just shows up better on camera. A maple board. It's very clear, so you guys know where I'm at. And there's not a lot of fretless E kind of things happening with the fretless bass line. There are a couple of more, a couple of slide ups to certain notes, but not a lot. I mean, this whole time we never knew, right? So it's just C to B flat to C, G to F to G. But as I mentioned, and as I always say, really, you have to keep that 16th note swing in mind. If you listen to the isolated bass, it's doing things like this. Okay, so you hear what I'm doing there? It's like do 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 do, or do 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 do. So even if you can't do that, even if you can't physically go something like that, you keep that feel in your head. And if you have that feel in your head, the constant tick, 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 and in this case it's kind of more like a it's very shuffly. There's a lot of swing in there. So if you keep that in your head, even if you're just going, those eighth notes are going to land where they should land. They're going to be funky just by the very nature of you thinking about the duke 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 duke. So that's my tip about how to introduce a little swing into your playing. Now, as I just played there, once in a while, you're gonna jazz it up a bit by going to the E flat instead of just going. You're gonna go. And the eagle-eyed will notice that John's hitting an E flat there, but we are in C7. But he's ignoring that, either consciously or not. He's going for that bluesy. So just a cool note choice there. Now, one thing that is tricky is getting into the chorus, because you're going to be down here on this G. And you could just hit the E flat here, but I think it sounds better over here. So my suggestion would be to go. So you see what I did there is I skipped here by going instead of, and then going all the way to the E flat. So, or you could go like this, skip all the way with just your index finger, and then you'll probably reach here either with your ring or your pinky. So that's just E and doing a pickup on the B flat. Sorry, E flat doing the pickup on the B flat. And then F with the same pattern and a pickup on the C this time. Back to a G. And that's it. There's really not much else to the bass line. Now, of course, we have those snaps. And as I mentioned in the performance video last week, that is not something you would be doing at the same time. You could do some of it at the same time if you wanted to hybridize the line, but you can't do all of it, especially when you go. Especially when you do that variation, it's just not possible. And not only that, but it really is a different sound. I'm quite certain, without getting too technical, that they must have sampled the Kubicki X Factor doing it here and transposed it by just loading it into a sampler and doing it up here and then up here and then up there. It's just not going to sound the same. It's not going to feel the same. I did it in the performance video just so you could hear how it would actually sound if it were played on an actual bass, but I think it really is a sample. It gets a real compressed, focused, keyboardy sound, for lack of a better way of describing it. So if you want to hybridize it, though, you know, be my guest, and you probably just want to thump it the whole way, like. Something like that. I mean, it could be fun. If you listen to the first part of this, you'll hear the demo, and I'll put the links in the description where that's pretty much exactly what he's doing. It's not going to be the same feel though, so, you know, as I always say, do what feels best and do what is the most fun, do what is the most appropriate. Okay, so I did something just for fun, and I did a cool little slap lick. And so this one's for Blake248 because he asked me to point it out. He usually does whenever I throw in those crazy little licks. But this is nice because I can give you another tip, which is when you're slapping, when you're plucking, be melodic. In this case, you know, it was just something that was off the cuff, but instead of just going or something that sounds impressive, lots of notes, I chose to be melodic. So without even plucking it, I did something like. So plucking it would be more like. So back, tuk, tuk, tuk. And you can practice that by just this movement. but being as funky as possible. Again, back to the... So just practice that, slow it down if you can't do it, and that's really it, you know. Again, there were only 4 notes: C, B flat, E flat, F. I was probably, you know, halfway consciously riffing on, you know, the notes of the song. That's that. Let's see if there's anything I forgot. There's the little break after the dreamy part, and that's just slightly different. And why don't we listen to that, because we haven't listened to anything so far. So it's just the same chords as the chorus chords. So actually it's a double hit. Then you go down. Again. Back up. And I like to go to the high G here, because I like the tension it brings. In the recording, it sounds like there's just a doubling of the bass note by a keyboard. Let's listen for that. You can hear it spread out there, almost like, you know, the doubling creates a chorus effect, or maybe they engaged a chorus effect. I don't know, but I like to go up to the high G. And then we're right back into the chorus chords, the same chords, but back to the pattern rather. That's one thing you can do there to make it a little more funky, is kind of slide down, and of course on the fretless that would be fun. So on and so forth. And of course at the end, like I mentioned in the harmonic analysis, you just hang on the E flat and the F, and you really don't come in after that. In the performance I did do a, just because I thought it sounded cool, but doesn't really do that. And yeah, that's really about it. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you learned something. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.